Come along with me for a 100-kilometer bike ride. Let's see what kind of range this gravel e-bike can offer. I plan to ride it using about the same effort as when riding a traditional road bike. We're going to track this with my Garmin, so we'll get an accurate distance and we'll also get some good calorie burns. I've also got a Fitbit. So this ride today is going to be a little bit of a range test. I'll try and give you a little bit of a flavor of what it's like to do this ride today. Hopefully the wind noise won't be too bad. Well, I'm starting out in the tour mode, and now that I've come downhill, you can see the range estimate is 78 miles, and it's going up. The range estimate on this on display on this bike is has to be taken with a grain of salt. What it does is it measures how much energy you're putting in and how much energy the bike's putting in over a fairly short distance. So if you're on a long distance trip, you know, unless the entire trip is a very similar terrain, it's not going to give you a very good estimate. Well, I'm feeling pretty strong at the moment, but I'm pretty much tooling along on my own power. No. Yeah, dogs can be a problem. Well, I've had several people ask me where it is that I've been shooting my videos, and most of my videos are shot in Star Valley, Wyoming. That's where I live. Star Valley is a mountain valley, and it's situated between the Caribou National Forest on the west and the Bridger-Teton National Forest on the east. It's a amazing place to live. It has lots of opportunity for outdoor activities. Those of you who watch my channel know I really love the area for cross-country skiing. It's also a good area for biking, but by most people's standards, the biking season would be pretty short. Well, we've just turned onto Creamery Road, and now we're heading west, and we're heading towards Idaho. Off to the right there, you can see Black Mountain. That's an area where I like to ski, and it's also a good place to ride your mountain bike. Well, we're now about 5 miles into the ride, and you can see I'm in the tour mode. Is showing the range as being 89 miles. So far I found the range estimation to be pretty useless, and it's going to vary an awful lot depending on whether you're going uphill or downhill. But for an out and back trip like I'm doing today, the most useful measure will be the number of bars. You get a much better idea of how much is left in the battery as opposed to supposedly how far you can go. Now we've made a turn, we're heading south again. The road surface here is what they call chip coat. It's not really pavement, it's not really gravel, but what they do is they lay down tar and put pea gravel over the top of it. They let the cars pack it down, and I guess it's better than dirt, but it's not smooth like pavement. It does have a rough surface to it. As cars roll over it, especially in the hot days of the summer, it does tend to smooth out. This road I'm riding on right now is called State Line Road, and it's a great name because it's right on the border between Idaho and Wyoming. On my right is Idaho, and on my left is Wyoming. Okay, right up here, we're going to hang a right and head into Idaho. We're going to essentially get off this chip coat and onto some great pavement. And we'll have a stripe. Okay, Here we go. Welcome to Idaho. Now this road's a lot smoother. I can feel there's a little bit of a headwind. Gonna try to get 100 kilometers in today. See how the battery holds up. Right now I'm about 9 miles into the trip. I'm still in the tour mode, showing that we have 100 miles of range. One of the reasons it hasn't gone down very much is I've been traveling at between 19.5 and 20 miles per hour, and that's just about the speed when the e-bike portion cuts out. So at this point I'm really not using much in the way of battery. Well, here in the United States, e-bikes are classified into 3 different classes. We have class 1, which essentially has pedal assist up to around, supposedly they say 20 miles per hour. They have class 2, which is essentially pedal assist up to 20 miles an hour, but they also have a throttle. And what a throttle means is that you can power the bike with the motor without having to pedal. And then they have class 3, and class 3 is a pedal assist bike that gives you electric assist up to around 29 miles per hour. This bike here is a class 1 bike. Right now I'm pedaling mine at 19.8 miles per hour. At this speed, the curve on the assist drops off pretty rapidly. So I'm not feeling much in the way of e-assist. That's one of the reasons that you don't see the mileage dropping down. I really wish the pedal assist on this bike would go up to about 22 miles per hour. I think that would be a real comfortable range for riding on the road. Now, of course, for gravel and dirt roads and that, class 2 bike is plenty fast. I don't see the need to be riding faster than 20 miles an hour on sketchy situations. Here's a little scenic byway. I'll stop here. If you want to read this sign, you can zoom in on it and read all about the historic nature of this route I'm taking today. Port of entry. Must be checking trucks for weight, inspecting trucks up here. So we are in Caribou National Forest right now, heading up what the locals call Tin Cup Canyon. It's really a beautiful ride. The road is fairly narrow with not a lot of shoulders. So in order to ride this safely, you really need to have a mirror, and you have to be checking that mirror all the time. Worst case scenario is you get a pinch point just like that right there, and you have somebody coming up from behind, maybe pulling a fifth wheel, has great big mirrors sticking out, and then with an oncoming car. So you can't always anticipate that there's going to be enough room. So to be safe, if you have to, you got to be willing to get to the gravel. Like right now behind, I have a truck coming up from behind, and he's fairly wide. You can see there's dual yellow lines, so he can't really see around. So I'm going to move way over. And that's one of the nice things about having a gravel bike on a road like this, is you're not afraid to get off and get down into that gravel and give these guys plenty of space. There is One nice attribute about this ride, not only is it scenic, but there's no cell phone coverage in here, so you're less likely to have somebody driving along this road and texting. I think that offers a little bit more safety for us bicyclers when people are forced to keep their eyes on the road ahead. Now I've changed the display so off on the left you can actually see the trip distance, and I'm 19 miles into the trip now. Still have 5 bars worth of battery power. I'll be real curious to see when it drops down to 4, which would mean that 20% of the battery would be gone. I'll give you an update then. And much of this road up here is what they call open range in Wyoming. What that means is there's no fences, and they graze cattle up here, and so that means you could find cattle on the road. It's not a big deal if you're on a bicycle, but if you're on an automobile, you come around a corner and there's a big cow laying on the road, it can certainly spell disaster. Well, just up ahead we have probably the one of the steeper climbs on this route. Of course the GoPro doesn't give it justice. I don't know what the gradient is. I can probably calculate with Google Earth and post it down below. We're still on 5 bars at this point. As soon as it drops down to 4, we'll record it and we'll do a calculation. As we climb up this steep grade, I'm about on the middle gear on my chain ring. I'm only doing 12 miles per hour. It's one of the big advantages of a mid-drive electric bike over a hub motor bike. You get to use the advantage of your gearing on your bicycle. Okay, we've pretty much reached the high point on this ride today. We're about 25 miles into the ride. Still haven't dropped down 1 bar, so I guess I haven't been letting the bike do as much work as it could. This is what they call the Caribou Highlands over here. And up ahead is the Grays Lake National Wildlife Refuge. Really a good place to stop here. I just dropped down 1 bar on the battery meter, which means we're down to 80% of battery capacity. The trip meter shows 29 miles. My Garmin, it's a big difference. My Garmin GPS is showing about 28 miles. We'll use the Garmin as a more accurate distance. And just down below here, we'll do the calculations to show you what kind of range we're getting for the kind of wind and terrain that I'm biking today. We'll take a moment here to take a look at these historical signs. If you'd like to read them, you can pause it, and then we'll head on. Really interesting country around here, but that kiosk back there made me laugh. Especially the part that said that this valley was one of the last places in America to get indoor plumbing and electricity. I think oftentimes people down here forget that Alaska is part of America. And for somebody who spent a lot of time in Alaska, I truly think there are certain communities in Alaska still don't have indoor plumbing or electricity. Well, this area is really full of a lot of interesting history. Reading that last kiosk about Frederick Lander, 1857, riding 3,000 miles via horseback. That really makes you think as I'm cruising along on my electric bike. Well, it says there's an overlook. We'll take a peek here. One of the things about the Grays Lake Wildlife Refuge is it's not very visitor friendly. By that I mean it's mostly wildlife refuge, and it's surrounded by a lot of private lands without much in the way of access. And I guess that's good for the wildlife, but for the visitor, maybe not so much. We'll go up on this overlook here and give an opportunity to see the lake. It's mostly a huge marsh. A little climb for me here. I guess I'll put it in turbo mode. Give my legs a little break. All right. Yeah, this is a nice overview here. It gives you a good feeling for the immensity of this wildlife refuge. We'll get the old cell phone out. Has a little better zoom lens on it. Maybe we can get some better pictures here. But down there is the park headquarters. Let's take a look out this direction. Give you an idea of the wildlife refuge. Late summer probably isn't the best time for bird watching, but this is an amazing place to watch the sandhill cranes dance in the spring. I'll throw in a few bird photos I've taken over the years to give you a feel for bird watching in the refuge. I'd like to show you one more photo. This is a Google Earth satellite image looking down at the refuge. Check out the shape of those ponds. Well, I'm at my turnaround point right now, so I'm going to be heading back home. And I think most of the video I'm going to shoot from here on out is going to be on my Insta-1 360. Now, it doesn't have great audio, especially when it comes to wind noise, but it'll give you a better feel for the area. So what I'll do is I'll take it out occasionally and shoot some 360 videos. Maybe I'll throw some music in the background because it doesn't do well with wind noise. And when we get home, we'll look at the stats and we'll call it a day. So enjoy.
Ba ba da ba da ba da ba.
Well, I just rolled over my 100K mark, and the heat is starting to take a little bit of a toll on me, so I found a shady spot here to take a few minutes break before I get the last few miles in. It's been a real fun ride today, and I'm really enjoying my electric bike. One of the things that I've learned on this long distance ride today is that my bike has almost what I would call a hull speed. If you're familiar with boating at all, you know what hull speed is. There's a certain point where you can get up where it seems to be fairly efficient, and to try to exceed that speed just takes so much more energy. Well, on this bike, my hull speed is around 19.7 miles per hour, and at 19.7, it's a pretty comfortable pace on the flats. Once you go over that, it really starts taking a lot more energy. Well, I made it back, and the odometer on the computer here shows 68 miles. A little bit different on my Garmin. My Garmin comes in at 66.24 miles. So I definitely did 100K. And interestingly enough, it shows 2 bars of battery left. And it's dropped down to 2 bars literally a half a mile from my house. So I know that's pretty close to being 40% left in the battery. We'll do a little calculation and we'll post it down below here to show you what kind of range I would have had if I would have taken it to 0, given the kind of wind and terrain and pedaling that I did today. Here are my stats for this ride. It's interesting that the Fitbit, Garmin, and bike computer can't agree on a distance, so take your pick. I hope you enjoyed this ride, so until next time, be safe, be kind, and I hope to see you in the next video.